there is some problem in some places with at least the appearance of how can this be misused in a way that hurts our citizens. So this is not the kind of thing that a commercial entity would have an easy time doing. Fortunately, I have a non-commercial entity, Internet Systems Consortium, is a public benefit nonprofit, and we're relatively technically audited for exactly what we do and how we do it. So we put together an exchange fabric similar to an internet exchange, but instead of being a place where ISPs can exchange customer traffic, it is a place where security analysts, either commercial or non-commercial, can exchange security relevant data. It turned out there was no good format for sharing this type of data on a datagram basis, so we had to do some technology invention. In this slide is something called NCAP, and we've thrown all that away. We're using something called N-message now. The guys like a lot better. It's been huge. We have all of these sensors that are dumping all of this traffic into this private switching fabric, and then we have all of these researchers, some academic, some commercial, some government, that can look at it in real time and see what the heck is going on out there. And some of them, including us, are built-in databases based on the real-time data as it flows by. And so the cost of starting up a new project that involves analyzing this stuff no longer includes building a sensor network. It's just a matter of plugging our computer into our Ethernet switch, and the data's just all there. Skipping this one, maybe. So I urge you both to ask questions about this, or ask me in the hallway to see demos of it. It's powerful. It will make you feel that you are more naked while using the internet than you knew that you were. The difference is that I'll either show you what I know about you, or Google will not. If you operate a network, whether it's a company, university, research lab, whatever it is, and you have a recursive name server, I urge you to please run a sensor, share your data with us. If you operate some kind of security analysis framework, and I don't mean any of you in this room who might be ideologically opposed to me, but those of you who are sort of trying to make the world a better place, if you could benefit from seeing this data, then you should contact me and find out how to use it. We do charge a port fee, but no one has yet been turned away as a result of their inability to pay the port fee. If you can make the world a better place by seeing this data, then we probably want you to have it. Special dispensation, special preference is given to those of you who will publish your results and make your interfaces, make your reports and so forth available to the community. If you can find a way to wade through the hundreds of megabits per second of real-time security data that we see every second of every day, if you can wade through it and tell us what it means, because frankly we're a little overwhelmed, we would thank you for that. We have a few minutes for questions. Anything on security information exchange? In the back, microphone please.
I'm interested to hear that you dubbed the whole anti-malware industry in a throwaway sentence for being reactive, but yet you're promoting passive DNS data collection, which is only reactive. How do you reconcile those two views?
Thank you. So, since we're using, I'm going to give you a little bit more detail here before I answer the question. Since we're using Ethernet as our sharing fabric for the security information exchange, we have the ability to use VLANs like they were satellite transponders. In other words, if this was a digital satellite system, it would be one satellite with a whole lot of channels. So we use VLANs the way that digital satellite uses channels. And we have a channel that is dedicated to malware. So that as people come into possession of samples, they can send a little blob of metadata to say, I have this sample, and these are the strings it contained within it. These are the domain names that it looked up when I put it in the simulator. These are the IP addresses to try to connect to. This is the MD5 hash. This is the SHA-1 hash, etc. Other people on the Security Information Exchange can hear that and say, I don't have anything with that MD5 hash. So I'm going to contact the person who sent that datagram, because usually the metadata includes a URL for fetching the entire binary. I'm going to go fetch that. I'm going to go pull it over and analyze it myself, because maybe it will help me. And in that sense, I am helping to be reactive. The difference is I want the reaction to be more universal, right? If there was a new strain of a biological virus that affected humans, and a commercial drug company came into possession of it and said, I'm not going to share this because it's part of my competitive advantage. I want to be first with the vaccine, so I'm not going to tell anybody else that I got this. But frankly, their entire board of directors would be in jail the next week, because that would be, that's illegal everywhere. But for some reason we allow that kind of behavior when it's just the internet rather than human health. I think that's a little nuts, but I don't make the laws. What I can do is make sure that as people come into possession of these samples, they have the ability to share them in real time, in exchange perhaps for their ability to see what other people are receiving in real time. So it's still reactive, but without the incredible time delay that we get when you don't share your samples until the end of the day when you close your log file and make it available for FTP. Now, I do think that looking at data patterns that your web browser is fetching over the internet and hoping that you're going to be able to spot the bad ones because of the pattern file that you subscribe to, I think that is, that's old tech. I think that no matter how easy I make it for people to share samples, and no matter how much people start to cooperate on the sharing of samples, the bad guys will always be a step ahead. And in that sense, I agree with what Chris said. And what I want to say about, specific to your question, passive DNS is not just about building RPZ zones so that you can poison certain names. Obviously, that is one possible use, but the ability to facilitate investigations so that we can start to map out criminal enterprises and find the people that are doing the bad things so that we can get the local police wherever they are and start participating in investigations is the only way we're going to stem the growth. I don't think we'll ever flatline the size of the criminal enterprise in human society and keep it from growing, but we can slow the growth doing that. That's the first thing that I have thought of or heard of that could slow the growth. Everything else we've done has accelerated the growth, including the existing malware industry. We have 3 minutes. We could use them to drink coffee, or I could throw them back, please.
Just a short question. I was wondering whether the list of users on the exchange is public information.
No. It is made available in an odd way. And that is, if you're a sensor operator, it's possible that you have certain reasons why there are certain companies or universities or something you don't want to share with. So you can see sort of a limited horizon view of who else is getting the data. If you have problems and concerns in that area, some of our sensor operators have said, look, I've got this data, but I need to monetize it. I have to pay for my own sensors somehow. So for them, we have the premium channel where they can say, I want a VLAN of my own, and I wish to be in command of exactly who is and is not present in that VLAN. and we think that's fine. And, you know, we anticipate that there's money changing hands, but ultimately the sponsor of a given private channel gets to say, yes, please add us and so person to my private channel. Or they could ask us, all right, just please, we don't need to collect money, we don't need to do back channel negotiations, but we do need to know who is going to be in there. So please give us a private channel, default it to being empty, publicize it to everybody, and then as each person asks you to be put into it, please ask our permission, and we'll give you a case-by-case yes or no. So those are the three trust models that we have been pressured to support. And there could be other trust models, whatever it takes, whatever amount of creativity it takes to get people to be comfortable sharing data and to be comfortable depending on us to get data from which they're probably deriving products and services. We will do. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Nobody? Paul, I would like to thank you very much for your talk. As Paul already mentioned, there is a coffee